Your ultimate retirement is that you never do anything that you don't want to do again.
And that was Suze Orman sharing her definition of the ultimate retirement. So, how can you achieve it? Stick around as Suze and I answer that question and many more. It's time to tune out the hype and focus on the facts. Facts that matter to you, the income generation. Let's get started. Get ready to separate reality from myth.
With us, David Scranton.
David Scranton.
David Scranton.
David Scranton.
But David Scranton says, hey, not so fast.
How does it affect the markets? How does it affect the economy? Thanks to efficiencies in new technology and a staff of veteran analysts and portfolio managers, Sound Income Strategy strives to set new standards and bring institutional style investing to your portfolio. Welcome to a special edition of the Income Generation devoted exclusively to my recent in-depth interview with one of the nation's most popular and most respected personal financial celebrities, Suze Orman. The author of 9 New York Times best-selling books, she is here to share invaluable insights and tips from her latest release, The Ultimate Retirement Guide for 50+, Winning Strategies to Make Your Money Last a Lifetime. She'll also discuss how much financial planning has changed since the 80s and 90s and talk about the many new challenges facing today's generation of retirees and near retirees. She'll share her insight on such important topics as the psychology of saving, the importance of eliminating debt before retirement, and the slippery slope of spending down principle. A true advocate of financial education and helping everyday Americans successfully prepare for retirement, Suze has been one of America's leading financial planning celebrities for over 30 years. In addition to her book, she had her own show on CNBC for 13 years and was a frequent guest on both The Oprah Winfrey Show and Larry King Live. Though she technically retired 4 years ago, Suze is a perfect example of how the very definition of retirement has changed for many Americans today. We're delighted that she was able to take some time out of her busy retirement to join us here, especially since her latest book, The Ultimate Retirement Guide for 50+, is aimed squarely at you, the income generation. In the first part of our interview, Suze talks about what first fueled her passion for helping others manage and try to protect their money, and how the game has changed dramatically for everyday investors since the 80s and 90s. Your degree, of course, is in social work, and most of our viewers probably don't know this, but 10 years later, you're opening up your own financial firm. So for those of us who haven't heard the story, please tell our Income Generation members, what prompted you to do this?
Well, you know, the truth is that here I am, and yes, my degree's in social work. Now I'm working in nursing homes, and right, it's like whatever. And I'm very confused on why is it that everybody in a nursing home doesn't have any money? Then I realized, oh, they're in a nursing home most likely because they don't have any money to begin with. But then my life went on, and through a fluke set of circumstances, I actually was a waitress, Dave, until I was 30 years of age in Berkeley, California, making $400 a month. And I wanted to open up my own restaurant. I didn't have any money. All the people I was serving all those years actually gave me $50,000, $2,000 here, $3,000 here, told me to go and open it up at a brokerage firm. And to make a long story short, within a matter of 2 months, all $50,000 was lost. So I thought, I know, I can just be a broker. They make you broker. and they hired me to fill their women's quota. This was 1980.
Sure.
And there were no women working at this firm at the time, and as that was true throughout Wall Street. And there you go, and the rest is history.
Rest is history. And we're not talking about some Ponzi scheme or a Bernie Madoff situation. You're really just referring to someone who got into things that were too speculative, really, and lost a lot of money. Is that correct?
Yeah, when you walk into a brokerage firm, do you all know this, that when you walk into a brokerage firm and you don't know who's going to take your account, you're assigned what's called the broker of the day. And the broker of the day is the person who gets all the people that come in. And I was assigned to this man by the name of Randy. And Randy was very good looking, red hair, right, ex-hockey player. And he said, sign here on the dotted line. And I said, okay. And they were blank papers. What did I know? I was a waitress, really. I signed. He filled it out to make me look like a sophisticated investor. He qualified me to do options. And then within probably 3 months, like I said, all money was lost. And now I didn't know what to do because I needed to pay those people back. And I got hired, like I said. And that's when it became my mission in life, to make sure that that never happened to anybody again. Because, all right, I was young, I was 30, I could make it back, but what if it was my mom? What if it was my dad? And what if it was you? What if it was you when you were 50 or 60? You couldn't make that kind of money back. So that's when I went into retirement planning to protect those that were older, which fit in with my social work, and there you go.
And of course, that was before the term fiduciary was really popular in the investment world. Back then, pretty much everyone acted as a broker of sorts. Today, we actually gone as far as having fiduciaries. In fact, during the Obama administration, they made a big push with the Department of Labor, as you know, to get the fiduciary rule passed so that every advisor has to be a fiduciary, has to act as a fiduciary, which means they have to have your best interests in mind.
But listen to me, and you listen to me closely. They don't all do. I don't care what somebody's title is. I don't care what they call themselves. Not everybody has your best interests at heart, which is why it is really important that you have a source that you can go to go, oh, should I do this? Should I not do that? Somebody who doesn't want anything from you. I don't want anything from you, but I sure want a lot for you. And that's why I wrote this book, The Ultimate Retirement Guide, subtitle, Winning Strategies to Make Your Money Last a Lifetime. 40 years almost now, I've been doing this. I get it. I'm there. This book will help you not be taken advantage of.
We also talked about why she wrote her first book, You've Earned It, Don't Lose It, back in 1995. So what first prompted you to write your first book?
To impress my clients.
Okay.
Seriously, I had
And I'm sure it did that.
So many clients, and I just wanted to give them something. I wanted them to think, oh, look, my financial advisor also is an author. And so the name of that book, and it was in 1995, was called You've Earned It, Don't Lose It, Mistakes You Can't Afford to Make When You Retire. And it was all about, do you have a will? Do you have a trust? What pension option are you going to choose? Don't do this. Don't do that. You got to do this. You got to do that. Whoever thought that book would go on to sell 800,000 copies in hardback? In hardback. How's that even possible that happened? And from there, it was all of a sudden now everybody's taken note, because most authors, if they sell 6,000 copies in hardback, they're selling a lot of books. And then I wrote another book called The 9 Steps to Financial Freedom, and that book went on to be one of the best-selling books of all time. In fact, it was the #1 selling book of all nonfiction hardback books in 1999, of all books.
So between all the books that you've written, how many copies, this is going to be interesting, how many copies have you, Suze Orman, sold between all your books?
Yeah, I actually like to think about it as how many have you purchased? Because I've never been out there selling it to you.
True.
I've been there to educate you and fill a need. So every book filled a need, a niche of what wasn't being addressed, like this book does right now. And so under all formats, from publishers, from every outlet, over 30 million copies right now.
30 million copies, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
That is amazing.
That is absolutely incredible. And what I love about it is that it hasn't really changed. You talked about the mistakes in that first book from 1995, and in reality, we've kind of gone full circle 25 years later. And the difference is a lot of people are talking about avoiding mistakes now as you approach retirement for those of us over the age of 50, those members of the income generation, about being cautious with your money. But back in the 90s, most people weren't talking that way, but you were.
I was talking that way, but even then, back in the 90s, the truth of the matter is, everybody think about this, not only the 90s, but even when I first became a financial advisor in the 80s, I specialized in retirement planning. You all had a pension. You all got to retire with full health benefits for the rest of your life with your family. Interest rates were really high. Now, I get inflation was high, but you could lock up, which I did for the majority of my clients, a 30-year treasury bond at 14.5%
I remember those days.
interest. Really? Can you imagine that? Real estate had not gone through the roof, and truthfully, the Dow Jones Industrial Average back then hadn't even broken 1,000. And so today, where are we, Dave? Today, so much different, which is why I did write this book, because those days are gone. Today, we have the lowest interest rate environment in the history of the United States.
Incredible.
And if you think it's going up, I don't think you will be correct. That's number one. Number two, the Dow Jones is still, no matter what's been happening right here, is still the highest it has ever been. Really, everybody? Real estate is over the moon. So where are you if you want to retire? What are you going to do to make sure you can retire? And so again, in this book, I just want to say, it breaks it down. I tell you what to do in your 50s. I tell you what to do in your 60s. I tell you what to do in your 70s,
Yes, you do.
your 80s, and so forth. And the goal is that I'm going to be your guide through these years, because it's hard to know. And it's one thing if you have somebody that you can trust and is making sense. But all of you find yourself in a situation that you just go into a financial advisor's office, you have all this money from this 401k plan that you've been saving all your life possibly, and you just hand it over. They tell you to buy a universal life insurance policy and use it as an income generation. And you go, okay, biggest mistake you will ever make. They tell you to buy bond funds. Are you kidding me? Biggest mistake you will ever make. They tell you to do this. They tell you not to pay off the mortgage on your home. They tell you everything so that they make money off of you. Times have changed. Times have changed.
Coming up after the break, more words of wisdom from Suze Orman. In the next part of our interview, Suze Orman and I talked about the healthy skepticism that you should have when dealing with a financial broker. I always encourage people to ask why. If somebody's recommending something, whether it be in their office or anywhere in a book or on TV, I'd always say, well, what's their business? Is there a reason that they're recommending a certain thing? And skepticism is always healthy.
When I had my own firm, and I had a firm up until 1997, remember I wrote my first book in 1995. Listen, everybody, I didn't expect to become one of the best-selling authors and this, quote, financial celebrity in my own TV show and Oprah for 30 times, Larry King for 30 times. I never expected that. That wasn't what I was doing. But as soon as I saw that I started to catch on, I stopped seeing clients. I stopped being able to give you advice so that I could possibly make money off of you. That was never the goal. The goal was to either write books for you to be able to purchase, or if you had debt, to go into the library and take it out, to record audio so that you can listen to it, to create the will and trust kit, to create the FICO kit, to create all these things that would help you at a price that you can afford. Right? And so I have to tell you, my will and trust kit, Dave, millions of people have purchased it, and you can get a state-of-the-art, $2,500 worth of state-of-the-art documents created by my own trust lawyer, my own documents that I use, so that at home that's what you can do, because it's one thing to have money. All right, now you're investing money.
Right.
But now you become incapacitated.
You have to
now
protect it, sure.
You got to protect yourself. And honest to God, the will and trust kit is the best thing I've ever done.
Suze and I also talked about how she achieved her own financial freedom when she first started her TV show. I want to dive deep into some of the things that you talked about in the book, because
Yes.
I took the time to read the book, and
Thank you.
I was really impressed. I thought it was great. But I just have to ask you about your television show.
Yes.
How did it all start? You know, what it was something you tried to do, or was it a concept that
No.
somebody brought to you and you thought, hey, this is a good idea?
I've never tried to do anything. Right? It's funny. I never like, oh, I can do this. So when you're an author and you have books that are really popular, especially #1 New York Times bestsellers, which all my books, have been.
Sure.
And so it's everybody wants you on their show. So CNBC would always have me on their show. Suze Orman, the whole world wants to know what you're saying. What do you think? The market's going down this year. The market's that year. Oh my God, 2001, 2006, 2007, 2008. I was on every single show that you could possibly be on. But really, way back when I started to tour with my books and they were hitting, people started to take note. And here's how it actually happened. I was on Oprah all the time.
I know
I
that.
was on Larry King all the time. And Bill Bolster was the head of CNBC back then.
Okay.
And his wife, who watched me on Oprah all the time, went to him and said, "What is wrong with you? Everybody is watching this woman. She is selling millions of copies of her books, and you don't have her on CNBC?" So,
That's awesome.
So now I go and I talk to him, and that's how it all started.
So she slapped him upside the head, as any good wife will do repeatedly when needed, to her husband, and he said, yeah, let's do this.
And then
there was no turning back.
Then he gave me the show, and we increased ratings by, the first show increased ratings in that time slot by 176%, which is a big deal in TV land. But I'll tell you something about that. For one whole year, I did that show with no pay. And the reason that I did it with no pay is they wanted to lock me up for 5 years.
Right.
When you create a show, they don't want you to just have a show for a year and then you're gone. And they could
Sure.
see that I was popular. And I said, I'm not signing a contract for 5 years. What if I don't like doing this all the time for 5 years? I'm not going to do that. And they said, well, then we're not going to sign you. I said, I don't care. I don't need the money. I don't need the money. I just want to do it. I love doing it. All of a sudden, it became their #1 rated show. So here we are now a year later, and now I had them where I wanted them. Not that I knew that was going to happen, but that's what happened.
I was at dinner with a friend of mine just over the holidays, and who has a show on a major network like that. And he referred to himself as an indentured servant. He said that's basically what he is. He's an indentured servant, a hired gun, and has to be there by contract. So.
And I had a yearly contract every year for 13 years.
Because you impressed them enough in the first year that they're willing to give you a renewable contract.
Well, and
which is
because
great.
I wasn't willing to do it.
We talk in depth about what she means by the term the ultimate retirement.
Your ultimate retirement is that you never do anything that you don't want to do again. You never do anything you don't want to do again. And that's my wish for all of you. And ever since I started this Suze Orman show or whatever, I've never done anything I haven't wanted to do.
Yeah.
And when you're able to do that, then you live a happy life and you live a joyful life. Because I'm going to be the first to tell you, this isn't all about money. I know people who are billionaires and they're miserable in their life. In fact, I live on an island in the Bahamas, and this very wealthy gentleman, 5 homes, 4 boats, bigger, each one bigger, airplanes, everything.
But
He came to
but
the
he's not
island.
happy?
And he retired 2 years ago. He retired at 69. And he was sitting with us and talking to KT and myself. And he said, Suze, I'm just not happy. I said, and why is that? He said, I don't know what to do with myself. Like I thought this boat would make me happy, and then I bought another boat, and I got nothing's making me happy. So the ultimate retirement guide, and this is what I also talk about in the book. How do you find one's purpose? Like, what do you do? And you have to somewhere find a passion, because you think you just want to retire and you're going to go shopping every day. You're going to go on vacation. No, there's more
even
to
worse,
it than
watch
that.
television all day long. I mean, that's not why you're
that's
retired.
why I love this book so much, because it deals with your life, the financial aspect of your life, as well as the emotional aspect of your life.
I love it.
And now that I'm almost 69, I can talk to you income generators and the generation there. It's very different than when I was 45, Dave, and I wrote a book for 65-year-olds and 70-year-olds. But now I'm going to be 70 in a year.
Now you have even more credibility on this topic than ever before.
Because emotionally,
you're living the book.
I get it. I know that everybody says, oh, 70 is the new 50. Oh, please, my right leg is sore. A lot of my friends are sick. Things happen.
Sure.
So I bring a perspective now that I doubt any other financial writer with 40 years of experience, as well as the age, can bring to a topic like this.
I agree completely. And you're right, the perfect retirement is doing only the things you want to do during retirement. And if I may add to that, having more income than you need every year throughout your entire retirement. To me, that's the definition of perfect retirement.
And that you don't have to worry about it. And so many of you cut it so close. So many of you have all of your money invested in growth stocks or your 401k plans. And then you're thinking, now what am I going to do with that money? And there are some great things that you can do with that money, but you have to have the right guidance.
Coming up after the break, Suze Orman explains why it's so important to get rid of debt before you enter retirement.
A popular investment misconception is that growth and return mean the same thing. The reality is that growth is just one half of the equation. Income is the other. So total return is actually income plus growth. Growth usually coming from unpredictable stock market investing. Income comes from interest and dividends, which can be much more predictable. At the Retirement Income Store, we create customized, actively managed portfolios that make sure your total return equals income plus growth. The Retirement Income Store, where retirees go for income.
Visit theRetirementIncomeStore.com today to find out how you can rescue your retirement.
Welcome back to a special episode of The Income Generation, devoted entirely to my recent interview with Suze Orman, whose latest book, The Ultimate Retirement Guide for 50 Plus, Winning Strategies to Make Your Money Last a Lifetime. In this segment, Suze talks about the importance of eliminating debt and seriously saving for retirement, even when that means making tough choices. So let's delve into the financial stuff now.
All right.
Because this is important. You start by talking about debt and being debt-free. So is there any amount of debt that's acceptable when one gets into retirement? No debt
at all. Because debt is bondage. It means you owe somebody money. And here's the problem. If they owe people money when they're retired, that means they don't have a savings account. You wouldn't owe somebody money if you had cash.
I would hope not,
right?
Sure.
You wouldn't. It makes no sense. What, you're getting 0.5%, 1%, maybe 2% if you put your money in credit unions, which I love, by the way, and you're paying 15%, 6%, 5%. non-tax deductible on debt. So when you get to retirement, my goal for all of you is you've paid off the mortgage, you don't have any car loan debt, you obviously are not hopefully paying your kids' student loan debt anymore, that you don't have debt. And if you have debt, you can't afford to retire.
That's right. That's right. Sometimes you have to know, you say this in the book, you have to know when to say no.
Yes.
Because, even on an airplane, they tell you in case of emergency, rapid decompression, put on your own mask before the mask of a child. Because if you pass out, you can't help anybody else. And the same is true if you pass out financially because you haven't taken care of yourself, then you can't help your aging parents, and you simply cannot help your children. We also discussed her weekly podcast and why Suze felt strongly about targeting it toward not just women, but also, as she likes to say, the men smart enough to listen. And by the way, your podcast, I just found out today about the second part of that podcast, and for the men smart enough to listen. And I'm glad to hear that, because I wanted to tune in your podcast, but being a guy, I was afraid that if I was on my phone trying to tune in, I might hear denied and I wouldn't be able to tune in. But you're saying that's okay.
Well, no, what's so great is that people write in with their questions. And when a man is writing in, he goes, Suze, I'm one of the men smart enough to listen.
I love that.
Right. So many women out there, their partner is a man. The majority of people out there. Why would I want to divide the two of them? I mean, you both have to decide about your money together.
So speaking of that, let's talk to the men and the ladies that aren't quite retired yet, or maybe they need to save more money, they need to put more money away between now and retirement. You talk about this a lot in your book. What separates psychologically, mentally, and emotionally those who are really good savers from those who are not good savers? Because the men, for example, oftentimes are afraid to tell their wives, no, we don't have the money to spend on this, or afraid to tell their daughter no, or their son no, and as a result, they just never save. So I think if we can get to the psychology of it, then we can help a lot of our viewers become better savers.
Everybody says, yes, out of fear, that somebody else won't love them. You want others to love you, and you want to look like to others that you have money and everything. Here's all I can tell you is usually you spend more than when you feel less than. That's really just that simple. If you could just stand in your truth, if you could just tell everybody if you have debt, how much debt you have, if you could just say no to your kids and to your brothers and your sisters and everything that say, I don't have the money to give you. I have more debt than you. What are you talking about? If you could just stand in your truth, you would probably start to live the most powerful life of all.
Be real, be brutally honest with yourself first and foremost, and be brutally honest with those that you love, because they deserve it, don't they?
Yeah, but I get it. When I didn't remember, I wasn't born to money. My mom was a secretary, sold Avon on the side. My dad was always sick. I get it. I was raised on the south side of Chicago. We didn't have any money. My friends all had money. I didn't. I used to steal money from my dad's pocket so I can treat my friends so they would like me. Those behaviors continue all the way until adulthood because we just want people to accept us because we don't think we're good enough just as we are. I'm here to tell you, you're better than you have any idea, and your money will never be what makes you good.
And next up, Suze talks about bonds, preferred stock, and the importance of having an advisor who works with you to tailor a retirement income strategy specific to your needs and your goals, because every person in every situation is different. And in the Ultimate Retirement Guide, I was very, very pleased to hear you say that people over the age of 50, when you get in your 50s or 60s, I believe is what you said, that you should have at the very most 50% of your money in the stock market.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad to hear it, because today all these advisors, these brokers are out there with these 60-40 portfolios, which now have become 70-30 and 80-20, where they seem to think it's okay to have a majority of your money in the stock market right into retirement. And you said the common sense opposite. And tell us about that.
It depends on who you are. There will be some of you out there that you need a specific sum of income. You don't want to lock your money up. You just want control. At that point, Dave, I have to tell you, maybe 75% of your money should be in the stock market. But in what? In preferred stocks, in high-yielding dividend stocks, in things that will be safe and sound. I have a tremendous amount of money in preferred stocks. When the market tanked a little bit ago, they didn't move.
Right.
They didn't go down one bit. And I'm getting 4, 5, 6% because the danger right now is if you just keep your money in a savings account, all right, you're at 2%, you're at 1%. After taxes and after inflation, if you have to take out 3, 4, 5% a year to live on, there goes all of your money, especially if it's in a retirement account. That's been pre-tax, so then you're paying tax on it as well. So there's every single plan is individualized. There is no formula that I could give you or that Dave could give you. True. What it takes is sitting down with yourself, if you know how to do it, or somebody who looks at you not just like a paycheck. They look at you like a human being who has worked their life for this money. And they learn about you. What are you afraid of? What are you not afraid of? Can you afford to lose money, emotionally speaking? And then they map out a plan for you. But right now, I personally like dividend-paying stocks and preferred stocks more than I like bonds.
At least you can earn more.
You can earn more, and you have the possibility of growth. And even if it doesn't come to pass and they go down, if they're good quality, they'll come back, but you're getting your income. Mm-hmm. And there's, I was on some show the other day and I said, no, I wouldn't be buying bonds right now. A little bit ago, I would have bought a lot of treasuries, but now, hey, if you want your money liquid and you just want it safe and sound, all right, you can buy short-term treasuries, I don't care. But it's not going to get you anywhere. If you're looking to invest for income for this generation, it's not going to be found in bonds right now.
No, and I'm glad you clarified, because when you said preferred stock, because on the show we always talk about stock in the stock market as really being common stock.
Yeah.
I tend to lump preferred stocks for purposes of simplicity in the universe of what I call bonds and bond-like instruments.
Yes, they're bond-like instruments. Yeah. But right now they're actually, in my opinion, better than bonds, because some of them, when they come to market, like I said, they're at 4, 4.5, 5, 6% yields. Mm-hmm. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. So I like them a lot.
Well, it's true about bonds. I have, sitting in the other room, I have 2 analysts staring at Bloomberg terminals all day long just to find bond opportunities. In a given month, we might find a handful of bonds that we like, that are safe enough and that have competitive enough yields. We'll have more words of wisdom from Suze Orman coming up in just a bit, right after the break.
Sometimes life feels like it's all about waiting in lines. Lines with no end in sight. Lines you can't do anything about. So are you tired of waiting and want to start doing? If your financial advisor has you at the back of the line, the Retirement Income Store is waiting to put you up front. Our national network of retirement income specialists will give you the individualized attention that you deserve, so you can stop waiting and start doing. The Retirement Income Store, where retirees go for income.
In this segment of my interview with Suze Orman, she touches on some of the points that we stress frequently right here on the Income Generation, including the slippery slope of spending down principal, especially when your money's in the stock market, and the practical value of having a strategy that allows you to live off your interest and dividends. But what I love about your book, in the Ultimate Retirement Guide for those 50 and over, you talk about the 3% withdrawal rate. And that's important because a lot of people are still back in the 90s on the 4% and 5% withdrawal rates. And recent studies have shown, as you know, using Monte Carlo analysis, that in some cases even a 2.7 or 2.6% withdrawal rate is what's safe. But I know your philosophy is if you can get it through interest and dividends, then yes, you can safely take a 3%
or 4%
withdrawal rate.
Or 5%. I really hate when people have to go into principal in order. I hate it. because especially if you're invested in the stock market and the market tanks, let's just go back to 2007, 2008, 2009. Let's forget even this year. If the market tanks 57%, you've already retired, and it did tank that much, and you have to take out 4% from your original principal. So you had $100,000 and you needed to take out just, let's say, $4,000 a year. And now you're at $50,000, but you still have to take out $4,000 a year. Now you're not taking out 4% anymore. Now you're going to be taking out 8%. 8% of your portfolio. Now that $50,000 has just gone down, by really? And before you know it, your money's gone.
Yeah.
And so
You cannibalize your principal.
I really love when, until you get to the point of required minimum distributions in a retirement account anyway, which is now at the age of 72, I really like when you just live off your interest and you don't touch your principal. I would love that for all of you. And if you cannot do that, and I talk about this in the book, you might want to think about getting an income annuity. I had a woman,
Yes.
71 years of age. Her name was Judy. She had $400,000 to her name outside of a retirement account. All right. And her Social Security check was only $2,000 a month. And she wanted more money. She just wanted $2,000 more a month. We took, or I advised her, because I'm not selling it to her, to take $200,000, put it in an immediate annuity that gave her $2,100 a month every single month, along with her $2,000. So now she's at $4,100 a month, so happy. And at the same time, to invest the other $200,000 in preferred stocks and things like that, dividend stocks. And then the last 2 years when we did this, the markets went up significantly. Her $200,000 went up a lot.
Which is great.
Right. Then we took what she gained and we let's say it went from $200,000 to $250,000. We took the $50,000, left the $200,000. We took the $50,000. She paid capital gains tax on it, but she's not in that high of an income tax bracket anyway. And we bought her another annuity, but now because she's 2 or 3 years older, from $50,000, she's now getting an additional like $800 or whatever it is a month, that she's getting, or $700, and
she got a pay raise.
She got a pay raise.
And she loved you for having a pay raise. That's
right.
incredible.
But that's how you plan it, everybody. Never put all of your money in an income annuity, but that's the type of strategy that you want to work with somebody to create for yourself. And that's what I talk about in the book. The one thing when you do see an advisor, if they don't tell you right up front how much money they are making off of you, get up and walk out.
Yep.
If you have
100%.
to ask them, well, how do you make your money, Dave? How do you make your money?
That's right.
And if you have to ask them,
They should be more forthcoming.
it's
Absolutely.
got to be right up front.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. People don't mind paying fees in most cases, providing they know about it.
They know what the fee is.
I remember the first time I hired an interior decorator and was paying a fee, and I was naive. I had no idea. And when I found out that person was also getting a commission on the chairs that I bought and the bookshelves that I bought and all that stuff,
Big deal.
I was
Livid.
upset. Right. But yet, if I had known up front, I might have been okay with it because at least I had known.
Now, if you had known up front, you would
would
have
have hired
said
a different person.
one or the other. I'll pay
That's right.
you a fee, but I am not going to pay
Actually,
you
you're
a
right.
fee and a commission.
You're right.
So you have to be very careful when you are out there.
Coming up after the break, Suze explains some of the pitfalls you can run into when dealing with variable annuities. Financial experts have predicted that the next major recession could happen as early as this year. What would you do if it took half of your retirement savings with it? I'm David Scranton, and there is a safer way investing for income. By focusing primarily on non-stock market income-generating investments, you could significantly reduce the impacts of the next major recession and establish renewable streams of income you can count on during retirement.
Visit theretirementincomestore.com to connect with an income specialist who can help you get started on an income-based retirement plan.
CliffNotes version. Give our income generation members the CliffNotes version as to why variable annuities can be really troublesome.
Listen, if your money especially is in a retirement account, right, you're already in either a tax-deferred account or a tax-free account if it's a Roth retirement account. Why in the world would you put a tax-deferred investment inside of a tax-deferred account or tax-free account, number one? Number two, outside of retirement accounts. You are sold a variable annuity, which is simply an annuity. It's a contract with an insurance company. A variable annuity are mutual funds within that contract. You could go out and buy mutual funds on your own. They don't have to be in a variable annuity, but a variable annuity is sold to you under this guise. You will never get back less than what you originally put in. And you're told that and you go, oh,
that sounds good,
that
right?
sounds good. The problem is you have to die for that to be
That's
true.
right.
And you have to pay a mortality fee, 1.3% a year, in order to get that guarantee. All right, so you put in $50,000. It's now worth $100,000, but you've never touched it. And now you die. That goes down to your beneficiaries, your kids. They take out $100,000. They pay ordinary income tax on that money. Oh, you put $50,000 into no-load mutual funds, those that don't have a commission on it, an index fund, let's just say, and it goes from $50,000 to $100,000. You die. Goes to your kids. Guess what? They get a step up in basis, not one
Zero tax.
penny of income tax. Oh, you go into a variable annuity and you want some of your money out. That it's grown and now you want to take it out. You're going to pay ordinary income tax on it. Oh, you want to close the variable annuity out. You just want out. You're going to pay a surrender charge, probably 7% within the first 7 years or 10 years, just depends on the contract. Oh, you go to take it out, you close it out. Not only are you going to pay income tax, there is a state premium tax as well, depending on the state that you live on. And I could go on and on. A regular mutual fund that invests, or an exchange traded fund that you can buy and sell at any time, no surrender fees, step up in basis for your kids. If you want to sell it, you get what? You get a capital gains tax only if you've held it for 1 year and 1 day. Are you kidding me? And the whole time you own it, it's tax deferred. Here's the bottom line. Never want to invest in the stock market unless you have 10 years or longer until you need this money. If you need it in 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, you are not somebody who belongs in the stock market.
Coming up after the break, more words of wisdom from Suze Orman.
For behind-the-scenes photos, retirement planning tips, and upcoming giveaways, follow the Income Generation Show on Facebook. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch video clips, guest interviews, and to catch up on past episodes.
So in summary, the ultimate retirement guide for those 50 and over. Get your debts paid down if you're retired. If you're not retired, put a plan together to make sure they're paid off and they stay paid off between now and retirement. Make sure you're spending less than you're bringing in. If you need to be saving more, get disciplined. Be brutally honest with yourself. Be brutally honest with your loved ones and start saving. Increase your savings so that you can retire in the style that you'd like to retire. And when it comes to retirement, make sure that you have enough interest and dividends to satisfy your income needs. Yes, like you said, if you're getting 4 or 5%, you could take 4 or 5, but if you stick to your 3% rule, now you have a little bit of an inflation hedge for the future. Or the income annuity. The income annuity can certainly help guarantee your income, so now your other investments over and above what's in the income annuity can actually provide you with an inflation hedge for the future.
You need a plan. Retiring today isn't like it was, like I said, years ago. And my wish for every single one of you is that you get to live a life that's joyful, and it's joyful because you found a passion that you like when you retire. Mine is fishing. Whoever thought Suze Orman would like fishing.
Now, you mentioned before your estate kit. So if people want to get your estate kit, how do they go about doing that?
So you would go to Suze Orman, S-U-Z-E, Orman, O-R-M-A-N.com/all. offer. And when you go there, you will see it's for $69. But here's what's so great about it. My own personal trust lawyer put it together. Millions and millions and millions of these, I've lost track of how many millions, have been purchased over the years. And these are legal documents that are totally legitimate in all 50 states. If you went to a lawyer to get these exact same documents, you would pay at least $2,500. Every time you go back to a lawyer to make a change, $500, $1,000, you can go back to this program as many times as you want and make as many changes as you want. It will never cost you a penny again.
I'd like to thank Suze Orman for joining me on this special episode of The Income Generation. I'd also like to thank you, our new and returning viewers. Remember, you can get Suze's latest book now in stores or online. You can also listen to new episodes of her podcast every Thursday on her website, SuzeOrman.com. If you're close to retirement and really want to know how to try to maximize and protect your money, it's essential you stay informed and up to date. And right here is where you can do it on The Income Generation. I'm David Scranton, and we'll see you next week.